The titanium cape. Why softness is your superpower. I want to start today by acknowledging someone who has fundamentally shifted how we think about strength, resilience, and power. Anne Sanchez, a visionary whose work has touched thousands of Black women professionals across industries, recently sat down with me for a conversation that I can only describe as life altering. Anne isn't just a thought leader, she's a revolution whisperer, a paradigm shifter who has single handedly challenged the very foundation of what society tells us constitutes strength. Her insights don't just transform individuals, they're reshaping entire organizational cultures and communities. What Anne revealed during our conversation was revolutionary. The most powerful act isn't weathering the storm with a titanium cape, it's learning to dance in the rain without one. Think about it. We've all been there, smiling through meetings while our world collapses, responding, I'm fine, when we're anything but, carrying everyone else's burdens while our own shoulders scream for relief. And we call this strength. What if, and stay with me here, what if true power isn't about how much weight you can carry before breaking? What if it's about knowing when to put the weight down? During my conversation with Anne, she shared something that stopped me in my tracks. The strongest women I know aren't the ones who never fall apart. They're the ones who know how to gather their pieces with grace, who understand that softness isn't weakness, it's strategic power. Let that sink in for a moment. Softness as strategic power. In a world that expects Black women to be endlessly resilient, perpetually strong, constantly available, choosing softness becomes not just self care, but revolution. Consider Jessica Green, a visionary researcher Anne introduced me to. Jessica has spent years documenting how Black women entrepreneurs are leading what she calls a quiet revolution, transforming systemic adversity into opportunity, not through relentless grinding, but through intentional community building and radical self prioritization. These women face discrimination, limited access to capital, and disproportionate job losses. But instead of just pushing harder against these barriers, they did something unexpected. They built inclusive ecosystems that prioritize self care alongside business growth. The results? These entrepreneurs haven't just achieved personal success, they've redefined what success looks like. They've created sustainable business models centered on joy and community impact rather than burnout and isolation. As Jessica discovered through her research, these women weren't succeeding despite taking time for themselves. They were succeeding because of it. Their softness wasn't a liability, it was their superpower. When I started this research, Jessica told Anne, I kept hearing the same story from high achieving Black women. They were told they had to grind nonstop to succeed. But the ones who truly thrived, they were the ones who rejected that narrative and embraced rest as resistance. Rest as resistance. Now, there's a concept worth exploring, but I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but in my reality, I don't have the luxury of softness. There are too many people counting on me. I hear you, and heard this too, repeatedly, which is why her work is so vital. Let me share another story Anne told me about Denise Clark Taylor. Denise exemplifies what happens when we finally embrace our authentic selves amid setbacks. Denise was navigating deep depression while managing career challenges, all compounded by the societal pressures placed on Black women leaders. The expectation to be endlessly strong was literally making her sick. Her transformation began with what seemed like failure at the time, Leaving an unhealthy work environment, this wasn't a decision made lightly. It was rooted in valuing her peace over external validation or status symbols. Instead of immediately jumping into another high pressure role, Denise did something revolutionary. She prioritized healing. She adopted daily wellness rituals, meditation, therapy, and sought mentors who encouraged her journey toward wholeness rather than perfectionism. The outcome? Denise not only rebuilt her confidence, but now leads workshops teaching others how prioritizing mental health creates space for innovation at work. Her story has influenced workplace culture shifts around mental health support policies. As Anne explained, Denise's greatest professional achievement wasn't climbing the corporate ladder, it was having the courage to step off it when it no longer served her wholeness. This isn't just about individual transformation, though, it's about collective healing. Anne introduced me to the Wake Up Happy Sis movement led by Leanne Dolce, pronounced Dulce, like sweet softness whispered in French. This community brings together high achieving Black women committed to trading burnout culture for fulfillment through intentional softness. These women face chronic stress from balancing demanding careers with family obligations, all under societal expectations of invulnerability, and calls this wearing the titanium cape. But through this community, they've discovered something powerful. When one woman gives herself permission to be soft, she creates space for others to do the same. The community offers mindset coaching sessions focused on joy cultivation. Members share real life strategies like boundary setting and regular check ins centered on emotional wellness practices such as journaling or group meditation circles. The results have been transformative. Hundreds have reported breakthroughs from improved relationships to workplace harmony to launching passion projects once considered impossible amidst chaos. As Leanne often says, your softness is not a luxury, it's a necessity, not just for you, but for everyone who benefits from your wholeness rather than your depletion. This collective shift has sparked ripple effects across industries where more organizations now recognize the value in supporting employee well being and redefining what leadership looks like. But here's what struck me most during my conversation with Anne: resilience isn't about never breaking, it's about how you gather your pieces afterward. Remaining positive and faithful during life's hardest moments isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. Your lowest points can become the foundation for your greatest growth when you choose to keep moving forward with hope and determination. Anne shared a powerful insight. The storm doesn't make you stronger by beating you down. It makes you stronger by teaching you how to dance in the rain. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. How many of us have been taught that strength means weathering the storm without seeking shelter? How many of us wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor? What if we've been getting it wrong all along? What if true resilience isn't about how much you can endure, but about how well you can protect your peace? What if the most powerful thing you can do isn't to push through, but to pause? What if softness isn't weakness, but wisdom? These questions aren't just philosophical, they're practical. Because burnout isn't just uncomfortable, it's unsustainable. In a culture that glorifies grinding until you break, isn't just unhealthy, it's harmful. So here's my challenge to you, inspired by Anne's profound wisdom. Choose one area where you've been wearing the titanium cape and give yourself permission this week to put it down. Replace it with one small act of softness each day. Maybe it's a mindful walk. Maybe it's reaching out honestly about your needs. Maybe it's saying no without guilt. Then share your experience inside a trusted circle. You'll inspire others simply by showing up authentically. Because here's the truth and help me see community lifts. You don't have to do this alone. Leaning into supportive networks gives you strength when storms hit. Collective healing and shared wisdom are essential tools on the journey from surviving to thriving. As Anne beautifully put it, the titanium cape is heavy, and it was never designed to be worn alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take it off and let others see your humanity. I want to leave you with this. We stand at a pivotal moment in history, a moment where we can collectively redefine what power looks like, not as endurance until breaking, but as the courage to embrace our wholeness, not as isolation in our strength, but as vulnerability in our community. This isn't just about self care, this is about world care. Because a world filled with people who know how to honor their limits, who understand that softness is strategic, who recognize that rest is resistance, that world would look radically different from the one we inhabit today. So I'm asking you, no, I'm challenging you to become a revolutionary in your own life, to question every should that drives you to exhaustion, to examine every must that separates you from joy, to challenge every system that profits from your depletion. The revolution begins with you putting down that titanium cape, not forever perhaps, but long enough to remember that underneath it beats a heart that deserves tenderness, long enough to recall that your worth isn't measured by how much you can carry, but by how authentically you can live. Your softness is not just your superpower. It might just be the force that changes everything